Well, we're here in the podcast trying to give information to our clients, and today we have a special guest because this is the one who have saved me many times and to do and not to do in real estate. Is my lawyer, Harvey Naiman. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Diego. My name is Harvey Naiman, and I've been doing this for approximately 40 years. And so I certainly know what I'm doing, just like you. You are an excellent realtor, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure for me because you know what, in my whole career, basically, you've been there, and we have gone to thick and thin, you should say, as to like the different aspects of real estate, and we were able to educate our clients many times. And I like to be, even though you only speak English, and my clients, most of them are in Spanish, and you've been very, very patient with my clients in the Spanish community. And always been there just to translate, and we wanted to make sure that the client is always educated and always know what is signing. But today's topic is a very specific topic because 2025 can be a potential challenge for many clients out there who have houses and they might be in a little trouble, especially with those topics about foreclosure, power of sale, and that's why we wanted to bring this topic together and see if you can educate us, you know what I mean, and the things that can happen if you are facing those type of challenges. Can you a little bit explain what perhaps foreclosure it's all about?
Yes, now before we get there, though, I wanted to take a step back. One of the reasons I got into real estate law is that it's a nice area. You're dealing with people doing something that they're happy about, buying a house. And it's a wonderful thing for me to help people do that. It's certainly different from litigation where you're fighting. I don't like to fight. I like to be with people who are happy, etc., and that's why I do real estate law.
Beautiful.
Now, real estate is a beautiful investment, especially in the long term. You
When
will
it's
never
done
lose.
properly.
Pardon me?
When it's done properly.
When it's done properly.
Yeah.
And when it is done properly, you're going to make money. You're going to do well, over the long term especially.
Nice.
And so, but the thing is that sometimes things happen in life where things don't exactly go the way you want them to go. And that's why you were mentioning how 2025 could be a problematic year. It could very well be like that because I know people have had mortgages right now at a very low rate. It was very low historically, 1-2% for 5 years, etc. And a lot of these mortgages are coming up for renewal. Those rates aren't there anymore. People could be renewing at, 3, 4, even 5%. So there's an affordability there. And unfortunately, some people will not just be able to afford. And my point that I wanted to make is that from the client point of view, you want to maintain as much control over the situation as possible.
Yes.
And to me, that means, to begin with, that if someone feels that they're going to be having some problems here, problems of affording to pay the mortgage, etc., to have control means that you do something, you take the initiative, you don't wait for the bank to do something. And what I'm saying there is that perhaps it means listing the property for sale, which of course is where you come in.
Yes.
That's how you have control. Because if you're listing the property for sale, you're the one determining who's going to buy the house and for how much. And you're also going to save a lot of money too, because if you wait for the bank, if you're just going to sit on your hands and just hope for the best, the bank certainly will take its action eventually, and it's going to cost.
Yes, but it also there are some steps before it gets ugly, I should say, right? There is, signs that maybe perhaps the lender is going to take action, perhaps going to send you a letter, give information. In many cases, they probably want to work with you. You know what I mean, to solve the problem before it gets ugly or gets into court. Can you break it down a little bit of like some steps that are gonna happen before it gets to the point that it has to sell, that you have to sell there?
Yeah. Well, there actually is a difference between lenders as well. There's the institutional lender, the banks,
Yeah.
and some people get private mortgages. Individuals are lending the money. With respect to the banks, first of all, with any lender, they can't do anything until 45 days after the first payment is missed.
Wow.
Now, with
Important.
respect to the banks, institutional lenders, usually they're not going to jump. 45 days will pass, they'll send some letters. Some banks will try to work with you in the sense of perhaps lowering the monthly payment, but they're not forgetting about their interest. Like, if you're going to be saving some money now, you're going to be paying for it later. But they won't act that quickly. They'll send letters. But eventually it would reach a point where it's going to be referred to the bank's legal department or the bank's lawyer. Private lenders, they tend to act much more quickly because they've got investors, individual investors there who want to have their money back and get their return on their investment. And so, you won't necessarily get those kinds of letters. The point is, again, you want to have control.
Yeah.
You want to be the one who's going to be selling the house or dealing with the house.
Exactly. That was my question. Like, I mean, it usually happens when they can make a decision and say, I'm going to be in financial trouble this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage. If that comes to that point, can I make an action? Can I do something before that? Can I list the property? Can I contact a realtor and see if we can get to that point before it gets, in lender's hands, I would say, right?
Yeah.
When is the time? How far can you go, before you get to that point?
It's your house all the way up to the time that the bank has actually sold the property. At any time in the process up to that point, you can list and you can sell.
Okay.
And that's one of the tactical things that I do in the sense that if the client is in trouble with the lender, and even if the lender has initiated court proceedings, as soon as I can get a firm agreement of purchase and sale with a reasonable closing date, not like a year down the road or something like that, but a reasonable closing date, I would be sending a letter right away to the bank or to the bank's lawyer saying, look, we've got the property sold. And we've got it sold at the best price possible because the owner has sold it, not you.
Yeah. Because sometimes they get a discount because they don't care about you, basically. They just try to get their money back at the end of the day.
They have certain obligations where they have to at least try to get the best price they can get. But at
value.
the end of the day, they'll sell for what they want to sell it for.
Yeah, they won't
They
care
wanna
as
get
much
their
as
money
you
out.
care about
That's
your
right,
property.
100%. And so me sending the letter to the lawyer, I would be requesting, stop whatever you're doing. Look, we've got it sold, and we've got it for the best price possible.
Okay.
That would save money. The bank doesn't have to listen, and certainly the private lender doesn't have to listen. They can still continue on. But typically with the banks at least, they'll stop. They'll stop so at least you've mitigated your damages, which means like you've controlled the kind of money that you're spending for nothing really. You're spending, you're compensating the bank and compensating the bank's lawyer. So you've got this control aspect. You've got the control all the way up to the time that the bank has actually sold the property. But you want to have as much control as possible, which means doing this as far away from the bank taking action as possible.
Yeah, but then also for this, you have to have knowledge of all the opportunities and the possibilities, right? All the escapes that you have, in your hand in order to make action, right? So definitely you have to contact a realtor that can give you a fair market value. So to know what is the potential of your property to be sold, and get in contact with a lawyer who can just give you all this information ahead of time so you can be more proactive and not wait for the lender to come with this a court order and then sell your house instead of you having control. Is that correct?
That's right. And remember that once the lender starts initiating actions, you're spending money. It's not just the interest on the mortgage; it's legal fees.
Oh, I see.
And the lawyer for the bank does not care about the registered owner. His client is the bank, not you. So there's no restriction, basically, on the kinds of fees he can charge. And it ends up becoming quite expensive, and all these actions just eat away at the person's equity.
I see.
And so in terms of the process, though, I know you're very interested in that. Once the bank decides that, you know what, we've given this fellow enough chances, we've sent him letters, and we're still not getting any payments or whatever the situation is, we want to get this property off our books.
Wow.
We don't want this mortgage, especially for this mortgage, to show that it's in default when the government auditors come in, etc. So what do? A lot of people think that the first thing that happens is a notice of power of sale or some kind of document that says power of sale. And that right away there's a sign that's put on the lawn for sale by the realtor for the bank. That's not the way it works. The first thing, if the lawyer for the bank knows what he's doing, typically they do, is that they will issue a statement of claim. They will start a lawsuit.
Statement of claim. Okay.
A statement of claim that starts the actual lawsuit. And there's money there in terms of the cost already once that's done. It's served upon you, and you basically have 20 days to file a defense, If you file a notice of intent to defend, you can gain an extra 10 days. So in theory, you could have a total of 30 days to file a defense. If you do not file a defense, then the bank's lawyer can then move to do what's called get a default judgment.
I see.
And he gets a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once that happens, the next thing the bank has to do is to get an order for possession, because there's no way the bank can sell the house with you still there.
Mm.
And despite all of these things happening that I've mentioned, the statement of claim, the notice of sale, you don't have to leave the house. Don't feel that all of a sudden someone
You're
from the bank,
obligated to
someone from the
move.
bank is coming to the house and changing the locks.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen.
So at this point, you are just gaining time, gaining knowledge, getting in contact with the right people, the lawyer, to get ready for what's coming later, but being prepared. You're actually moving the dates a little bit farther and taking action.
Well, at this point, you've already incurred costs. My hope is that once a person feels that they're in trouble and that down the road they're just delaying the inevitable, that there would be an ultimate situation where they can't afford the mortgage, that they do list the property for sale. This is my point of having control and as much time as possible. But if they've waited till this point, you still have control in a sense. You can still sell the house, as I mentioned, but you've already accrued costs, and you're going to incur further costs as this process is going on. So then this next thing would be for the bank to get this order for possession. Once they get an order for possession, that allows them to go to the sheriff. And it's the sheriff, not from the old Wild West stories, but there is a sheriff who, he or she is the one who actually would make arrangements to come to the house and evict. And that's the point where, you've got to leave. And once you're out, that's when the bank is in a position that practically they can sell this property. The house is vacant, and that's when the sign will go on the lawn, and then however long it takes for the house to get sold after that.
And everybody gets their money back or get out of the situation at that point, I guess.
Well, the bank is hoping to get its money back and its costs, its lawyers' costs. When the house is sold, there's the bank's realtor who will have probably top commission. Again, the bank is looking to get all its money back. The bank is not looking to protect the interests of the registered owner. Its obligation, as I said, is to try to get the best price it can, but it doesn't need to go crazy to do that. Basically, by listing the property and seeing what comes from that, that's the bank trying to get the best price it can.
So in summary, basically, it's in your best interest to have control of the situation, number one. Contact the right people, the right agent and the right broker, a lawyer, right? To be informed and take action before the lender takes all the action themselves. And for that, obviously, we're gonna have all this information set up, you know what I mean, in the body of this video for you to contact Harvey in case you are in trouble, or you can think of you're gonna be in trouble in 2025, or you wanted to be just educated about and knowledgeable about this option and not to fall into trouble for later on. Well, thank you so much, Harvey. It really is a pleasure. I know there is a lot more to it, you know what I mean, more information that we can provide to the client. But we just wanted to give you a little glimpse of like what can potentially be if you are in that situation. But you know that with the right people, you can have the escape and you can do things properly and have control of your investment in your real estate. Thank you so much once again.
Thank
and
you.
Maybe I can see you next time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.